I'd like to call the meeting to order. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. We're going to start the meeting with, there are 3 public hearings on. The first one is with respect to a proposed change to the zoning code that has to do with sheds, accessory buildings. And Brad, if you, would you please just introduce this?
Sure.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to open up the hearing.
Thank you. I need a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. So I think we talked about this at the work session briefly, but our code for residences, you get 1 free shed. It's 100 square feet or less. State code pinned that at 144 square feet where you wouldn't need a permit. The town had it at 120 square feet, so we kind of discussed it last month. Because sometimes, there's a lot of turnover, and we have these little, someone has a 10 by 12 shed in the backyard, and technically that needs a permit, even though the state code doesn't require it, and you wouldn't need a permit in most places for something like that. One utility shed. We're talking, small shed in the rear yard. So we thought it'd be good to mirror what the state requires and not be more restrictive.
I agree.
Yeah.
The state is 12 by 12, correct, Brad?
Yeah, 144 square feet, so 12 by 12 or 10 by 14.
Right.
Or,
Right. Okay.
and there are a lot of these little 10 by 12s or 10 by 14s that, again, you get into people moving them or needing a variance or anchoring them, and it's it just seemed a little unnecessary, and why not just be in line with with the rest of the state.
I think
Right.
that makes a lot of sense. Do any trustees have any other comments about it?
I'm fine with it.
Nope, sounds good.
Anybody
just-
in the attend? I'm sorry, who said that? Liz, do
Right.
any of the attendees have their hands up? Okay. Yeah, I should have said at the beginning of the meeting, so the way this works is that, the board members are on the screen and the consultants, but that all of the attendees can see and hear what's happening. But as your item comes up for consideration, Liz can let you in, or if you have a comment, you can raise your hand and she'll let you in. All right, well, if nobody has any comments about the proposed change for the sheds, I
Make a
would like
motion
a
to close the public
motion.
hearing.
Second.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The second public hearing on for tonight is another proposed code change with respect to construction dumpsters and covers. And I'd like a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 We did talk about this at the last work session, but Brad, would you please just give a quick summary?
Sure. So within the section of the chapter that requires building permits and work to be in conformance with that, at the end there's a clause about construction dumpsters that they should remain covered, which we felt was really it's not realistic because dumpsters are in and out all the time, and I would get complaints from time to time about how someone's construction dumpster wasn't covered, and without it's not really garbage, it's construction waste. It shouldn't really have a deleterious effect because it's not things that are decomposing or rotting, but at the same time we broke it out, and the other aspect of this is if we do see a construction dumpster on a site that doesn't have a permit, it's a nice little trigger as well. So it's kind of a twofold thing, just to clean up what we have been doing and break it out of that fairly busy little section there that talks about everything under the sun when it comes to your building permits.
Yeah, and I think it makes good sense what you're proposing. Did any of the trustees have any comments about this proposed change?
Nope, I'm fine with it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks,
Okay.
Brad, for bringing this up. It's very, I appreciate you looking into these things because there are things that would just go by the wayside that, you know, that would just be left alone. And, I appreciate you looking into them.
Yeah, I agree, and making these recommendations to us that we're happy to consider. Anybody in the audience, if you have a comment you'd like to make about this, please raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any hands up, right, Liz? All right, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a
I move
motion
that
to
we
close the
close-
public hearing.
Whoops, who's
I'll
gonna do
second
that?
that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Let me just check something here. All right, that brings us to the third public hearing on a special exception application for Rogers Avenue Associates. And, I think it makes sense to start with the applicant. They can do a presentation. So anybody that represents the applicant, you should raise your hand and we'll let you into the room. And,
Mayor?
and then we'll,
I'll make a
yeah.
motion to open.
Oh, okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
8 years, I still can't get that. Okay, so we're just here to listen. We're not going to offer any opinions tonight, but we want to get everyone's input, and there's a lot of things to hear and a lot of materials to review. But this will be a nice start. So anybody, as I said, who represents the applicant and you'd like to speak to us, raise your hand and Liz will let you in.
If I may, Mayor, my name is Frank Eisler. I am the attorney for the applicant before you tonight. I'd like to say good evening to the board and to the public that's listening to this matter. And I would like to just give some background about the project and some other points. And then we do have here available our whole staff of consultants who were involved with this project from the start, that if the board has any questions, we'll have them available for your questions and provide you with answers. Just very briefly, this is a application for a 52-unit multifamily project on Rogers Avenue. It's in the multifamily 20 district. It includes 8 affordable housing units. As I'm sure the board knows, this project has gone through over 2 years of intensive review, a complete SEQA review, including preparation of a draft environmental impact statement, a final impact statement, and a supplemental final impact statement. It's been subject to numerous public hearings where we've gotten input from the public. It's been reviewed by the village engineer and planner, and their suggestions have been incorporated as well into this plan that's before you tonight. This plan is the product of the SEQA review and planning board review process. And it's been modified from the original submittals we made to incorporate a lot of the concerns and preferences that were raised throughout the process. During the extensive review, our neighbors on Rogers Avenue and Hazelwood Avenue expressed serious concerns with speeding on the roadways, and also concerns with and wanted to find out information about what impact on traffic our project would have on the not only the neighborhood that they're in, but also, I guess, on the village as a whole. We share with our neighbors this very real concern about the speeding on Rogers and Hazelwood, as they are used as cut-throughs by the public, which they do at excessive speeds. As you may know, Rogers has a 90-degree curve at the east end, and the residential houses front on these roads. There's a very real risk to pedestrians as the neighborhood is developed at this moment. Certainly children playing. We've heard concerns from parents throughout this process, which we take to heart. And we actually, the people that will be purchasing our property, the units in our property, will have the same exact problems and concerns that the neighbors who presently are there have. And so we really regard ourselves as partners with the neighbors in attempts to try to find ways of, in conjunction with the village or ourselves, or maybe with other police department or other governmental agencies, to find a way to control this pass-through traffic that is been going on for a long time, as I understand it, and is not abating at all. In our review process, we had our traffic expert, Patrick Lenahan, look into ways of trying to mitigate or control or slow down the traffic as it goes down Rogers from Riverhead Road and Montauk, goes down Hazelwood as well. And he's here tonight, and he's going to discuss some of the mitigating measures that he has been proposing in our traffic studies that we presented to the planning board. And we're certainly willing to listen and participate in any other mitigation measures that the village can recommend, or the building department or traffic, anyone who has an idea. We're willing to listen and participate. There's been some talk about speed bumps being put on the road in some fashion to mitigate the speeding. I know my client is a willing participant if that were to be something that would be considered by the village. These are village roads, and so obviously ultimately what happens with the roads got to be approved by this board as you progress. But I just wanted to get this message out, because we've heard this and we share it, and our residents who will be living in our buildings will have the same problem. And we feel that these problems, to the extent they can be fixed, and one of the things we've been up against is it's very difficult. We've found, and this was all discussed at the planning board and in public meetings and hearings there, it's very difficult to come up with a solution short of maybe these road bumps or speed controls, unless there's police enforcement of the speeding and things of that nature. Our project won't be adding to the speeding issue here, obviously, because we're like our neighbors. We're going to be driving into our homes at the east end of Rogers, just like everyone drives into their driveways. We're not cutting through. We're going to be driving at normal speeds, so that it's not, our project isn't going to contribute to the speeding issue. That's a very real one here. The second issue that has been raised by the public is to find out what kind of traffic increase we will produce as a result of the build out of our property. That has been extensively studied in a comprehensive traffic plan by Patrick that has been overseen by Ron Hill, as you know, your village engineer. Throughout the CEQA process, that study was updated several times to incorporate changes that were ongoing in the village, including the Amazon project, including the now on the table 22 lot subdivision on Depot Road, as well as the patio gardens proposal that's now back before the planning board. So there's been a series of updates of our study to make it current, and it has been fully vetted by the village engineer. Ron Hill has made a report, and it's part of our CEQA findings that were adopted here, that in his opinion, based on the studies, that the additional vehicles that would be resulting from our project will not have a significant impact on traffic, both within the Rogers Avenue and Hazelwood community, but also in terms of impacting throughout the village. And as you certainly know, there's been a very, very detailed CEQA finding statement that was produced at the end of our CEQA process by the planning board as lead agency, that found that the potential impacts from our development on traffic and all the other factors that are factors that you will be considering for the special exception permit will not have any significant adverse impacts on the community, on the environment, on appropriate land use. And that CEQA finding statement is a critical document that is, if you don't have it as part of your file, I think you probably do, we would certainly present it as part of the record here. Let me just get my thoughts for a second on anything about this finding statement. No, okay, so we stand ready to work with the village and our neighbors to find whatever way possible to make those roads safer. The other issue that is not related to traffic and speed that was identified during the planning board process was the property, our property, is burdened by an easement, scenic easement that was imposed on the property back in 1992, when the property was being subdivided into 6 industrial uses. As you know, I'm sure this site where we're proposing to build this multifamily residential unit was an active asphalt and cement factory property for many, many years. It became the subject of a 2002 comprehensive plan study for the village, which concluded in 2003 that it was beneficial for the village and that particular area of the village that the industrial use be eliminated, and the property as a result was rezoned to the multifamily 20 that it is today. The subdivision provided for 6 industrial lots on this acreage that could have been used for full industrial uses permitted under zoning. And as a result of that, the industrial use that it was going to have in this residential area, these scenic buffers were imposed on the subdivision along the southern frontage of the property and partially on the west part of the property. This subdivision never took effect. It never was developed. There was never any transfers of lot title. The property remained in single and separate title. And upon the zoning change to multifamily, that subdivision merged into one single multifamily zoned lot. And that's what we're developing today. We have, as best as we can, incorporated the buffering that is set in these scenic easements and effectively it's 90% compliant with it, even probably higher. There's a building in the front of our property that is not within the buffer, it's within the buffer, it's located within the buffer zone. And the reason why that unit is there is originally our plan to completely comply with the buffers was the community center, which you'll notice from our site plan is in the rear of the property, had originally been planned for the front. And it would have been set back sufficiently to comply with that scenic easement for the industrial use. Due to substantial feedback and input from planning, from Kyle Collins, from the community, we relocated the community building to the back to meet those concerns. These buffers that are set in the scenic easement recorded documents really have no pertinent application or purpose for this multifamily use. And it was and has been recommended in the finding statement by the planning board that these not be enforced and that they should actually be abandoned. So we are requesting of the village in this application that the scenic easements that were recorded in 1992 for an industrial subdivision that no longer exists be abandoned by consent, and that a recorded document abandoning those easements ultimately be recorded. And as I said,
Frank,
in large
excuse me, are you
measure-
saying that the planning board recommended that the trustees abandon the easement? I don't remember seeing that in their recommendation.
it's not in the resolution, it's a CEQA finding. I'm sorry, it's in the CEQA finding that was made. And it's item number 3 on page 11 of the CEQA finding that it's stated, it recites about the easement area being created, and then it states in there that while the proposed development would require a cancellation of the scenic easements, there would be no impacts in the cancellation as the project is proposed for residential use in accordance with the multifamily 20 zoning designation. That's contained in the CEQA findings on pages 11 through 12. So the finding there is that abandoning these easements will have no impact on the proposed use of the property. So as I said before, we're in substantial compliance with those in any event, but that was out of design to achieve the layout that we have in the site plan, and it would be we submit it would be unnecessary to continue to clad our title with those easements when they're truly unnecessary. At this point, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, if so, it's just something that we'd have to consider, because I think saying that it doesn't have an impact for seeker purposes might not be the same as them recommending that we, eliminate it or abolish it. What would make it easier, I think, for our board is if you could put up, we don't have any kind of rendering or anything to, a reference to what it's supposed to look like. Do you have something that you could put up?
Brian, I see you're there. Is that something possible that you can do?
Sure.
Brian is our one of our planners from Grocer and has been involved with this plan from the start.
Okay, because when you're speaking about, the different locations of the community center and whatnot, it would be nice if we could be seeing it at the same time.
And I apologize. I presumed you had copies of the site plan in front of you. And one of the difficulties of doing Zoom is we're not all in the same place where we can hand you things and
Yeah. But at least we can put it up on the screen
sure
if
we
you
can-
have that ability.
Can you see that screen now?
Yes, oof,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay, Brian, why don't you, if you don't mind, just walk the board and the public through the layout of the plan and what we were discussing in terms of the location of the community building
Sure.
and the buffer areas that we're talking about.
Okay. Try to just, it's a little zoomed out here, but this is the overall property here. We have the Long Island Railroad to the north, Rogers Avenue and Rogers Avenue extension to the south here. This is our main entry drive. As Frank indicated, our community center, pool and pickleball courts are in the rear of the property here. And then we have housing throughout the rest of the property. As the actual particular area that Frank is referring to with respect to the easements is primarily located in the southwest corners of the property. So there were 25-foot wide easements along these property lines, and then a 50-foot wide from this property across to this portion of the property here. Our proposed buildings meet the 50-foot from this westerly property line here. We're about 59.5 feet. And then we have a 39.5-foot front yard setback where 35-foot setback is typically required if the easements were, allowed to be extinguished. Again, as Frank indicated, those easements were meant more for the industrial subdivision to act as buffering from the industrial lots. And if we did have a plan, as Frank indicated earlier, if I switch this, it should switch over. Can you see this alternative plan? This is what we looked at for the secret purposes. So this hashed area here is the prior scenic easement that was part of the industrial subdivision. There's 25 feet over here and 50 feet here. And that was primarily done to screen the property from the neighboring residential properties. So this option would have allowed for all of the proposed units, as well as the community center in the front, which is what we originally had proposed, and based upon public input, was determined that was possibly better suited to be at the rear of the property. So that's kind of what we have there. I think I do have an aerial rendering that I could pull up if that helps anyone. But this is the current proposed plan again that we have here.
Okay, does the board have any questions of Brian?
No,
Because,
that was pretty straightforward. Thank you.
okay, that was a bit of a segue from the traffic issue that we have been talking about first. But I just wanted to get the easement issue out because I'm going to pretty much stop talking and let you guys on the board, and then of course the public, whatever questions you have, or the public. But I do want to invite Patrick Lenahan, our traffic expert, to discuss the mitigation factors that he had been proposing for controlling the speeding of the pass-through, cut-through vehicles on the road. So if that's acceptable to the board, I'll have him address you now.
that's fine. Thanks.
Thank you, Frank. Good late afternoon. I think it's still afternoon and not evening, although this time of day is a little vague to me. My name is Pat Lenahan. I am Director of Transportation at VHB's Long Island office in Hopog. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Yes. So we were engaged as part of the Rogers Avenue project to conduct a traffic impact study for the proposed development. And that study was done, as Frank said, in conformance with, through a DEIS, FEIS process, was done in conformance with the adopted scope that was developed through the planning board with public input and input from your experts. And they have reviewed that document. It's been accepted as final, and the FEIS has been issued. That report, like traditional traffic studies that we generally do, looks at potential capacity issues that the additional traffic from any particular development, in this case multifamily, might cause on the adjacent roadway system. So to cut to the chase on that regard, with the 50 units of housing of this type, there's a moderate level of traffic that's expected to be generated. And our detailed look at the access driveway, all the intersections that we thought might be impacted, shows very small impacts, nothing that would rise to the level of significant. And I think we're in agreement with your expert on that. As Frank alluded to, we looked at a couple of other specific things due to input from the community through the planning board and their process. And that was speed levels on Rogers Avenue, the level of cut-through traffic that may have been cutting through the neighborhood from Montauk Highway to County Road 31, Old Riverhead Road, and the level of truck traffic. And all of these things are, all three of those things are related to some degree or another. So what we found, there were measures of speed where folks are traveling to some degree above the speed limit, which is 25 miles an hour on the residential roadway. There was some level of cut-through traffic apparent, certainly. The exact quantification of that is difficult to do without a larger study that's done just for that purpose. And there was a higher level of truck traffic than you would expect on a roadway of that type. And some of that is related to the commercial uses, likely at the end of Rogers Avenue and at the west end by County Road 31. But it's pretty obvious there's some level of truck traffic that's part of that cut-through letter. So, Brian, can you put the site plan back up if you would, and kind of zoom in on the site intersection? So,
Sure.
as Frank mentioned, these are existing conditions, and as a residential community who's going to be integrated into the neighborhood, our effect on any of those issues would be very limited, if apparent at all. But there are some things that we are going to do, and there are some things that we identified that Frank mentioned. Currently, the intersection of Rogers Avenue and Rogers Avenue Extension. Rogers Avenue Extension is the east-west portion on this drawing, and Rogers Avenue is north-south. The intersection of those two roads is really not an intersection at all. It's a very tight curve that has no traffic control. Poorly lit if it's lit at all, and it's not super elevated. And during the public comment process, there were a number of concerns raised about pedestrians even walking their dogs around this corner, and cars coming around the corner, not having to slow down because of the lack of traffic control. And it made folks a little bit nervous. So one of the things that we're going to do when we develop the site is we're going to reconstruct this intersection to a traditional T intersection with all-way stop control. And what that's going to do is that's going to bring everybody to a complete stop. It's going to increase the amount of time it takes for someone to travel from Montauk Highway to County Road 31 through the neighborhood. Generally, so there'll be an incremental increase in travel time to dissuade some of the cut through, incrementally. But what's not shown on the
Could you
story-
explain why that, what is it that, how is that going to happen?
Well, right now, if you were traveling up Rogers Avenue and you were going to head west on Rogers Avenue Extension toward County Road 31, you
Mhm.
simply arrive in this area and turn left. There's no stop sign. It's a curve. It's not really an intersection. So we're going to generate the introduction of the third leg really provides an opportunity to convert what's there now, which is something that is probably not desirable, into something that is desirable from a traffic control perspective, but also provides a little bit of deterrence. You know, you're not going to be able to cut through the neighborhood and stop at one stop sign at Hazelton. Now you're going to encounter two. But it's also going to increase pedestrian safety, because what's not shown on this plan is we would add sidewalk to the southwest corner of the intersection, so that folks walking around the neighborhood, and this was a specific concern that was raised, would not be walking in the street at the corner. There'd be a sidewalk available to them. So
would you point to the sidewalk, please?
unfortunately, I don't think it's shown on this concept. It's described in the report, but it would be, I don't know if you can see my pointer, or Brian, they can probably.
Yeah, Pat, I believe in response to some comments from Ron, because of the non-contiguous sidewalk, we did actually eliminate the sidewalk on the other side. And that was something that was done more recently with the planning board. Prior to this was, I believe Ron Hill had suggested that since there was no other sidewalk on Rogers, we would eliminate the sidewalk as a whole. But just when you're looking at the drawing, the darker lines here are now the stop bars, whereas as what Pat was describing, this dashed line, kind of where my cursor is the current roadway path that's there now. And as Pat indicated, there's no stop sign there. So you can just go around this corner without having to make a stop at all. So in essence, this becomes a T intersection, like Pat is indicating, there's a stop bar here, there's one here, and there's one leaving our community. So it becomes a more traditional, intersection, so to speak, where you have to stop, make a full stop, and then make your turn and continue on, rather than just rounding the corner at speed, so to speak.
Yeah, and even with the deletion of the sidewalk, and I apologize for not being aware of that, the fact that all the vehicles approaching the intersection are stopping are going to give the pedestrians an increased level of visibility and safety that is not there now. So this is one thing that will be done in association with the development of the site. As Frank mentioned, the traffic study that was performed identified a few other things that could be done to address the problems in the area. Again, these are existing conditions, but I think Frank mentioned, and the developer has been pretty strong on this, that the residents of this site are going to be neighbors in this community, and we would like to continue to dialogue to figure out what can be done here to address the problem. So in our traffic study, we identified a couple of things. Driver feedback signs, which are essentially, we've all seen them. I don't know if we all know what they're called. There's a speed panel that tells the driver how fast they're going, indicates clearly if they're exceeding the speed limit, and flashes at them. That is best and most effective when there's a level of enforcement that goes along with it. Speed humps, we wouldn't recommend speed bumps. Speed bumps are the very small, abrupt bumps. Speed humps are preferred. They're a little bit higher, but they're more gradual. And the last thing we have to consider was a regulation for local traffic, perhaps on County Road 31 southbound, to dissuade folks who don't have any reason to be in the neighborhood from making the left off of 31 into Rogers, or the right on Montauk Highway into Rogers if they don't belong there. And down at the south end,
Who are you referring to that doesn't belong there?
cut through traffic in general, keeping cut through traffic out of the neighborhood that they don't belong in.
So how would that be accomplished?
Well, the regulation is one thing. If you can post it for local traffic only, but there's an enforcement mechanism that needs to go along with that to make sure that people are staying away. If you found somebody who you didn't think belonged in the neighborhood, you would have to actually pull them over.
Mhm.
Right. So anytime you want to dissuade people from cutting through, you have to do one or two things. You have to make it so they can't by law, or in the absence of that, it sounds silly, but you have to make the cut through route more onerous. What you want to do is you want to make the cut through route less attractive. You want them to stay on Montauk Highway and stay on County Road 31 where they belong. So all of these other things work to that end. So as Frank said, we are ready to work with the village in our capacity to work towards a solution that makes sense. And
I'm just wondering about that local traffic only, how that would work on, so someone's going south on Old Riverhead Road and they want to make a left onto Rogers, how would they know that they're not allowed to do that? What would it say?
it would require signing and an ordinance. It'd be a sign.
So before they make the turn, so there'd have to be a sign on, oh, no left. I'm just trying to imagine what that law and sign would look like to alert people before they make the turn. I mean,
Normally,
it's a good idea.
yeah, normally there's a placard, and it's a combination of readily available signs that would have the name of the street, Rogers Avenue. And then there'd be another placard underneath it, perhaps, that said local traffic only,
Okay.
just north of where you encounter the intersection. So in a nutshell, that's really the results of the traffic study in the traditional sense, and the other issues we looked at. I can answer more questions now, or we can hand it back to Frank and he can keep going. And we can listen.
Well, if the board does have any questions of Pat on traffic, this would certainly be a good time to pursue that. And then, we can open it up to other areas you might have concerns or questions about the plan itself, where we have Brian and others here that can describe and discuss whatever concerns you might have as well.
I don't have any questions, but I would like to recognize the fact that this has been an ongoing problem. And I was on the board when we changed the speed limit to 25 miles an hour years ago. So it has been an ongoing problem, is escalating, I think, because of a lot of reasons, COVID being one of them, higher traffic rates.
I don't believe we're allowed to reduce the limit below 25 miles an hour.
Right,
I think we were told that.
We discussed traffic or speed bumps or speed humps at the time, and it was our traffic engineer, Ron Hill, dissuaded us from doing that. The rumble strips are also more aggravating than they are helpful because of the noise they make and things like that. So we have been looking at this in the past and obviously have yet to come to a good solution.
And I can say on behalf of the applicant that he's willing to work with the village on any ideas you might have. And it is, as Pat said, this is an existing condition, and it's not really going to be exacerbated in terms of the speeding and the cut through by our project. But we are concerned about the community there, and as well as the new residents that will be buying and living in these units, that to make it as safe as possible. I think you're right that it's been a problem for a long, long time, and it's a difficult one to solve. But we're a willing partner, is I guess all we can say at this point.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
If the board doesn't have any more questions of Pat, I would ask if you have any questions specifically about the site plan itself, any of the design issues or concerns, or just things you want clarified. We have our staff here to provide whatever information you would like to know about the project. You do know how many units it is and the layout, and I apologize that we didn't have it on the screen for you from the start. But certainly if you have any questions, they're here and ready to answer them. And if you don't at this point, we would ask that you commence the public comment period and the public hearing, for the people in the audience.
Mhm.
I just have one question. On the affordable units, you said there are 8 affordable units. Are they scattered throughout the complex, or are they concentrated in one area, or are there certain types of units that are available as for being affordable, or some of each, or how is that broken down?
Brian, are you able to answer that, or do we ask Kim?
I can answer. I can show, let me share my screen again just so we can see it. So we have 8 one-bedroom affordable units. They are scattered throughout the development. They're located, there's 2 of them here. There are 2 here, 2 more here, and the final 2 are over here. We did, I believe, earlier on have them a little more concentrated. And then one of the comments we had received during the SECRA work and the ongoing work with the planning board was to scatter them more throughout the community. So they are now, pretty well scattered throughout the midst of the community there.
And
I
they're
believe,
all, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
they're all 1-bedroom units, or the affordable, or all 1-bedroom only?
Correct.
Okay.
So I think Brad recommended that it should be a mix in the same mix as the other dwelling units.
And one of
The
the should be,
code, the code says they should be of the same mix and, but it is up to the planning board's discretion.
yeah, I think there should be some 1 and 2 bedrooms. Split them up. What's I don't remember what the requirement is for them as to how many they have to have.
I believe
Sure.
basically the number comes out to about 7 and change. So we were required to have 8.
8. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can explain that real quick, Steve. It's 4 units per acre standard. You can go up to 6 units per acre, so long as for every market rate unit you provide, 1 is affordable. So it's almost like when you go up to 6, the first 4 are market rate, then the next one will be affordable, and then the one after that is market rate. So it's almost like 5 market rate to 1 affordable. Obviously, if you have a number and you get to the half, you have to provide the extra. We would interpret you should lean on the side of providing an additional affordable.
I just don't know how you can work the formula to change some of them to 2 bedrooms and still come up with the same amount. Just the same. I don't know how that would have to work. I have to look at it. I still have some research to do yet.
What kind of wastewater treatment is being installed?
We're proposing a on-site sewage treatment plant. It is a system manufactured by a company called PureStream. It's a BESST system. It's been installed and permitted within Suffolk County probably 24 times now. It's one of the smaller, I'll say, package treatment plants that they allow within the county.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right, well, I don't think at this time we have any more questions, so I agree we should go to the public comment. So if there's anybody that's in attendance who would like to provide comments to the board, please raise your hand and Liz will let you in one at a time.
Liz, you're muted.
You see Chris?
Yeah, he should be joining us. Yeah, there he is.
Hello?
Hi, Chris.
Hi. Yeah,
Right.
for the first time, well, thank you, Mayor Moore and Village Board for hearing us. Thank you to Frank and his team for such a thorough explanation. Um, you know, that the communities expressed their concerns ad nauseum to the planning board. And quite frankly, I feel like this would be a little bit easier if it were for the first time. I'd say it'd be a little bit easier if it were in person because you'd be able to see the amount of support from the community here. Um, you know, I think you've kind of started to clue in what Trustee Frano was just asking and yourself about, what this really is and what it is not, and thinking, a little bit. Also encourage you to think a little bit larger about the ability of the community to handle not only this project, but all of the other projects that are currently being proposed. The capacity of Main Street to handle additional parking and visitation, the capacity of your beaches and parking lots to handle additional visitation. You're talking about an additional 104 parking stickers, an additional 200 some odd beach passes. The traffic on the road, while I think every development on Long Island probably had an EIS that said there's a negligible increase in traffic, yet I don't think we've seen traffic decrease here on Long Island. So, to take some of these findings with a grain of salt and, apply the reality of on the ground of what's happening. That's I believe within their traffic report, it said upwards of 33 additional vehicles per hour on average. So more so during peak times than off peak times. Obviously, that to me is not an insignificant amount of additional load, even if they were going slower. It's a lot more to add into one area. And again, the take caution. I hear you being cautious and thinking about this, about the just the precedent of extinguishing easements could set a very dangerous precedent that others will easily point to and say, well, you did it for them, why can't you do it for us? And they, even though the building might be outside of the easement area, they're still clearing the entire easement area. So even if they're not building within it, they're still clearing out that area. So, and putting walkways and such through that easement area. So there's lots to consider. I didn't know I would be able to have the time to speak tonight just because of where I am. So I really wasn't planning on speaking. So look forward to speaking with you all some more. And there's lots to be considered here.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Would any of the other attendees like to speak to the board tonight? If you do want to, please raise your hand.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I know I met you, I think it was a couple weeks ago randomly on the street, but I would just like to maybe speak out to the rest of the board just regarding the traffic. I think it's a great idea to put the stop signs at the end of the street to help reduce the curve and the dangerous curve that it is already. But the speed that happens up and down the street is, I don't think that that's going to stop just because there's a stop sign at the very end. And I know that you say that the people living within the community are not going to be the problem, but I see people that live on our street. Some of them are teenagers, some of them are older. They all speed up and down the street as well. And I'm not sure exactly why, because they live on our street. But sometimes, like when you're younger, you don't realize all the consequences that go along with speeding. And unfortunately, I've experienced some of those just because I work at the hospital and I have young kids, and a lot of us have young kids on the street, and we've seen them fly up and down. A dog's already gotten hit once on our street. I'm constantly yelling at the neighborhood kids to be careful because I don't want to see anybody's kids get hit. And I think just having such a large development at the end of our street, I don't know how you would be able to control the people that are visiting there, or the family members, or the young teenagers that are driving that might be living there. So it's just something to consider. And I agree also with Chris that we have to consider the whole impact of our village as to how it's going to impact the East End, not just our street. So those are just points I'd like to bring up.
Thank you, Jessica. I will say one thing that our chief McManus was telling me today, and he can expand on it, but we're going to invest in some of the cameras that not the cameras, but the data collection speed signs, and that would help us narrow down the times of the day when there's the most speeding that occurs, so we would know when to deploy the police officers to monitor it, because we certainly can't, we're not staffed enough to have somebody there all day, all night. So these devices would tell us when it's most important. Chief, did you want to say anything else about that?
No, Mayor, I think you covered it. We are going to invest in those hopefully within the next month or two, and we'll get them. They're going to be movable. They're going to be a little bit different than speed trailers that we currently have in place. These are going to be a little bit more permanent, but we still have the capability to move them around. But yes, they will be able to collect that data, and we'll be able to deploy our personnel to times where we see there's an influx of those vehicles exceeding the limit.
Yeah, I think just the signs themselves have an effect. These are the kind that mount on the phone pole. I think they'll have an effect of slowing people down, but at the very least, it'll give us the data we need to know, as you said, when to deploy the officers to sit and enforce the traffic speed limit.
The company that we're purchasing these from indicated in their studies that there's usually about a 25% decrease in the speed of vehicles.
So no matter what happens, we're planning on doing that, and you'll be seeing those going up in the next month or two. Anybody else would like to make any comments on this topic? We got Jean Seifert.
I thank you. Thank you for taking our
Hi, Jean.
Hi. And thank you for listening to our pleas. Good evening. What I'm going to say has been said a million times before, but I just feel that we're appearing before a new board, or the, and I feel that had Rogers Associates LLC been designed with its own entrance and exit onto a main road, which I believe the developer sincerely tried to create, we wouldn't be having these discussions. Unlike the Dunes, Patio Villas, and West Hampton Pines, who all have their own entrance and exit onto main roads, Rogers Associates must pass through another pre-existing community, jeopardizing their lifestyle and safety. Clearly, there's going to be an impact from the added traffic. As it stands now, turning left, heading east onto Montauk Highway from Rogers Avenue during peak season, as well as off-season, circumventing delivery trucks parked at the corner deli, plus oncoming traffic heading north onto Rogers Avenue, can be quite challenging, not to mention at times impossible. Unlike Bridle Path with its winding road, Rogers Avenue is a straightaway that encourages speeding. As a realtor, I welcome new, fresh inventory. However, I have yet to meet customers anxious to escape the noise of city living who are going to choose to live alongside the Long Island Railroad, compounded by the sight and sound of the C-130s landing and taking off from Gabreski Airport, not to mention the shrill of the private jets Friday and Sunday evenings. As a resident of Rogers Avenue, I welcome a lesser density and a solution to enabling both communities to coexist without sacrificing one for the other. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Liz, does anyone else have their hand up?
Unmute, Liz.
Sorry, I don't see any more hands.
Okay. All right, then I think that, well, in my opinion, we should take this information and consider it and keep the public hearing open and
Yes, that's my recommendation also, to keep the public.
I
hearing
agree.
and get-
we can prepare our questions for the applicant and we'll keep moving it forward. We know you've been before the planning board for quite a while and we don't want to unnecessarily delay, but this is, you know, the first time we're getting it and we have to make our own findings statement. So we need to.
I gotta go back and do my research now.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you, everyone. I need a motion to close the public hearing.
How about if we hold it
No.
over rather than?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
make
just
a
hold
motion,
it
hold the public hearing over.
Gonna hold it open.
Hold it open.
Okay.
All in favor?
Will what would be the date of the next time it would continue?
The
April 7th.
4/7?
Yes, our next board meeting is April 7th.
And that'll most likely be in person?
I think so, Steve.
Most
Yeah.
likely, yeah, in person.
Most likely will be in person, you know, pending any major changes. So Frank, it'll be a little bit easier than, you know, if you, at that meeting, because I understand how difficult it is to do things.
Oh, it's, I'm too old to get used to not being in person, doing cases or talking to boards. It's hard to do. For me, at
Hard
least.
to do, but you were able to be away, right, tonight and still participate.
You saved me from flying up. Yeah.
Yeah, and if we, yeah, I think, all right, let's leave it that way, and we'll try to come up with any questions that we would have so that you'll be prepared in advance of that date to address them.
Well, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Okay, we can go on to the resolutions now. The only thing is Justin wanted to talk to us and he had to pop off, but when he comes back, we'll just keep a lookout and we'll let him say what he wanted to say because he had a last minute application that he put in. Oh, okay. All right, so let's move on to the resolutions. Brian,
Did you
could you get us started?
Did you want to start with the new local laws or with the resolutions?
Resolutions.
Okay.
Yeah, I just need them up on the screen.
Okay, yep, that's right. I got them.
Thanks, Liz.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
All right. Resolved that the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting of February 3rd, 2022, and special meeting of February 16th, 2022 are hereby accepted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the treasurer's report for January 2022, Justice Court, Police Department, and Building Inspectors reports for February 2022 are hereby accepted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the village clerk treasurer is hereby directed to publish and post a notice of public hearing to be held on April 13th, 2022 at 5:00 PM at the Village Hall on the 2022-2023 tentative village budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Whereas the village received an application to renew the outdoor sales and display permit for 2022 with no changes from 2021 application from John Swimming Pools, 102 Old Riverhead Road, Hampton Aristocrat, 87 Sunset Avenue. Whereas there were no incidents or reported filed with the police department concerning said uses, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorize the placement of outdoor sales and displays as shown on the submitted plan, subject to the same set of conditions, recommendations by the Village Planning Board and plan attached to the application 2022 renewal application as follow conditions. All conditions set forth in the section 140-2A include but not limited to 30 inches setback requirements to section 140-2A4 shall be followed. No substantial deviation from the outdoor display plan shall be allowed without further approval from the Board of Trustees. This permit shall be in effect from April 15th to November 15th, 2022, unless previously revoked. The application shall be required to follow the renewal provisions set forth in section 140-2B of the Village Code for further outdoor displays. Such expiration date
That's it.
Need a
That's it.
second, yeah.
Who's going to second that?
Brian, you gonna second?
Yes, second.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Um, Sorry, I just have to move something on my screen. Whereas the village received applications to renew the outdoor dining permit for 2022 with no changes from the 2021 application from Joe's American Grill, 240 Montauk Highway, 6 tables, 20 chairs, 3 bar stools. Brunetti Pizza, 61 Main Street, 2 tables, 8 chairs. Flora Restaurant, 149 Main Street, 8 tables, 16 chairs. Salt and Loft, 145 Main Street, 7 tables, 28 chairs. Tonino's Pizza, 88 Old Riverhead Road, 3 tables, 12 chairs. Whereas there were no incidents or reports filed with the police department concerning said uses, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the placement of outdoor tables and chairs as shown on the submitted plan, subject to the same set of conditions recommended by the Village Planning Board and the plans attached to the applicant's 2022 renewal applications.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Whereas the village received applications to renew the outdoor tables, chairs, and benches permit for 2022 with no changes from the 2021 application form from Hampton's Aristocrat, 87 Sunset Avenue, 6 tables, 12 chairs, 5 market umbrellas. Hampton Coffee, 194 Mill Road, 4 tables, 16 chairs. Whitney's Deli, 98 Old Riverhead Road, 2 tables, 4 chairs. Boom Burger, 85 Montauk Highway, 3 picnic tables and with attached benches. Sydney's Tailor Made Cuisine, 32 Mill Road, 8 tables, 25 chairs, extended season from March 1st through December 31st. Whereas there are no incidents or reports filed with the police department concerning said uses, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the placement of outdoor tables and chairs shown on the submitted plans, subject to the same set of conditions recommended by the Village Planning Board and plans attached to the applicant's 2022 renewal applications.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Whereas the village received applications to renew the outdoor music permits for 2022 with no changes from the 2021 applications from Salt and Loft, 145 Main Street, Tonino's Pizza, 88 Old Riverhead Road. Whereas it appears from the outdoor music plans and planning board reports that the application satisfy the conditions of sections 196-3B of the Village Code. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the renewal of the outdoor permits is granted, subject to the recommendations of the Village Planning Board and the following conditions. Requirements that the volume of amplification should not be so excessive as to A, annoy or disturb reasonable persons of normal auditory sensitivity. It shall be the obligation of the applicant that the public sidewalk is not obstructed and no structures shall be placed in the parking lot, preventing the use of any parking spaces. No substantial deviation from the outdoor music plan shall be allowed without the further approval of the Board of Trustees. This permit shall be in effect from April 15, 2022 through November 15, 2022, unless previously revoked, and the applicant shall be required to follow the renewal provisions set forth in section 196-4A of the Village Code for future outdoor music beyond such expiration date.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the warrant for March 2022 in an amount of $441,805.66 from the general fund and $1,054,649.71 from the capital fund is hereby approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the East End Little League is hereby authorized to use the Great Lawn from March 15th, 2022 through July 1st, 2022, Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. for games and practices. And organizer will temporarily remove the fencing for May 27th and June 24th if necessary.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Greater West Hampton Chamber of Commerce is hereby authorized to use the Village Green on Saturday, starting May 7th, 2022, and ending December 17th, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the seasonal farmers market, subject to compliance with any COVID-related restrictions issued by New York State, and signage limited to one on-site location sign only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolved that the Greater West Hampton Chamber of Commerce is hereby authorized to use the Great Lawn on Saturday, May 28th, 2022, and Sunday, May 29th, 2022, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. with setup date on Friday, May 27th, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for the Maggie Burbank Fine Arts and Crafts Show, with signage per the village sign guidance is subject to compliance with any COVID-related restrictions issued by New York State.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the Greater West Hampton Chamber of Commerce is hereby authorized to use the Great Lawn on Saturday, August 6, 2022, and Sunday, August 7, 2022, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. with setup date on Friday, August 5th, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for the Mary O. Fritchie Fine Art and Craft Show with the signage for the village sign guidelines and subject to compliance with any COVID-related restrictions issued by New York State.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the Greater West Hampton Chamber of Commerce is hereby authorized to use the Great Lawn on Sunday, October 9th, 2022, and Monday, October 10th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. with setup date on Saturday, October 9th, 2022, from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the Gordon Warner Fine Arts and Crafts Show with signage per the village sign guidelines and subject to compliance with any COVID-related restrictions issued by New York State.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolved that St. Mark's Church is hereby authorized to use the Great Lawn from Saturday, May 28th, 2022 to Sunday, May 29th, 2022 from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. with the setup day of Friday, May 7th, 2022 from 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. and breakdown on Sunday, May 29th, 2022 at 6 p.m. with signage per the village sign guidelines and subject to the compliance with any COVID-related restrictions issued by New York State.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that St. Mark's Church is hereby authorized to use the Great Lawn from Saturday, September 3rd, 2022 to Sunday, September 4th, 2022, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. with a setup day of Friday, September 2nd, 2022, from 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. and breakdown on Sunday, September 4th, 2022 at 6 p.m. And with the signage per the village sign guidance and subject to compliance with any COVID-related restrictions issued by New York State.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the West Hampton Beach Historical Society is hereby authorized to use the Great Lawn on Saturday, June 25th, 2022, and Sunday, June 26th, 2022, for an antique and classic car show from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and with signage per the village sign guidelines and subject to compliance with any COVID-related restrictions issued by the New York State.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the Musical Mime Company Incorporated is hereby authorized to use the Great Lawn on Friday, July 29th, 2022, and Saturday, July 30th, 2022, from 8 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. for an evening of music, ballet, opera, and theater performance with setup starting on July 27th, 2022, and takedown starting on Sunday, July 31st, 2022, and with signage per the village sign guidelines and subject to compliance with any COVID-related restrictions issued by New York State.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolved that the West Hampton Beach PAC is hereby authorized to use the Great Lawn on Friday, July 23rd, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. with setup on Friday, July 22nd, 2022, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for a car show and fundraiser to benefit the West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center, and with the signage per the village sign guidelines and subject to compliance with any COVID-related restrictions issued by New York State.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Whereas Leonard Goldberg has applied for a one-day peddling permit to sell novelties during the St. Patrick's Day Parade on Saturday, March 12th, 2022, pursuant to Section 128-3 of the Village Code. And whereas the police department has reviewed and investigated the applicant and found no criminal history pursuant to Section 128-4. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes a one-day peddling permit to Leonard Goldberg effective March 12th, 2022, and is subject to the requested documentation being supplied and all other conditions in Chapter 128-10 and 128-11 of the Village Code.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to exclude the renewal of a 2022 share computer service agreement with the town of Southampton at a cost of $21,338.97 cents, which may vary according to additional and delighted of service during the catering years of GL account code April 1355.4.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves change order number PCO 00004, proposed change order for Thomas Novelli Contracting Corporation in the amount of $66,135 for replacing specified beacon lights to Steinberg lights to match the aesthetic of the Main Street lights to be charged to the Capital Fund account H9900 Sewer District.
Second.
And those are for the 3 parking lots, just to clarify. Should put that in there. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorize Police Chief Stephen McManus to enter into an agreement with T-Mobile under the Connecting Heroes Plan for 7 lines, not to exceed an annual amount of $2,100, and an agreement with Scale Fusion to provide MDM, Mobile Device Manager services, not to exceed an annual total of $252, to be charged to GL account A3120.407 telephone.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before we do the next one, we weren't able to, we didn't have enough time to talk about this at the work session, and Justin's here with us, so he wanted to pop in and just give us an overview of his event before we vote on it, in case any of the board members have questions.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, Justin.
Thank you very much. Thanks for making the time.
So, we thought you might want to just give us an overview of what it is you're going to be doing next Saturday.
Okay. With West Hampton Beach Brewery, we teamed up together. I offered my space, being the bank, which I recently signed a lease for. They had wanted to have a beer garden, so I offered the space on a few contingencies, being he would handle all security, additional insurances. We agreed upon definitive time for a start and an end. Certain cups that would be allowed, they'll be served on site and would not be allowed outside the set perimeter. They would be clear cups with their logos on it, so that if someone did walk out with it, they could take it from the person drinking and not be allowed outside into the village with, an open container. They hired security. One will be at the single entrance / exit, and one which will be under the tent. Brian from the brewery just sent me the company. I think it's called, I can check, One Service Security. I have to find out, but he gave me the name of the company. I'll be serving some food, but really just wanted to make sure you guys had all the information you needed. And if you have any questions, I want to be on to answer them.
Justin, are you doing any cooking there, or are you going to be doing it in your other shop?
No, we're going to be doing the side driveway. I will have a fryer to do, like, what do you call it? Like fritters, and that's it. We want to make it easy. I don't want to have anything too crazy.
Okay.
But that won't be under the tent, right?
That will not be under the tent. I think Nick from, I guess, I don't know if that's Nick's name. He said that I could have it a 10 by 10 easy up. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can have a 10 by 10 tent without getting a permit.
Yeah, that's what at most I would use that, but really that would be not so much for where I'd be cooking, but kind of where we'd be serving the food. I'd keep it outside of that. So really it would just be me with the food, and then whatever equipment we'd use would be to, outside of that 10 by 10.
Okay. I'm glad you have the security, and the cup idea
Yeah.
sounds like a good one.
Yeah, that's got to be all fenced in. Justin,
It's
also,
going to be fenced, yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, did you get the authorization from the liquor authority too?
That was all handled through Brian and them over at the SLA. And yes, so we had to provide, owner's authorizations, which I had signed by Marcus Stinchey. And they submitted all the documentation to the SLA. I will notify the health department as to what I'm doing. That's an easy, just basically says, transportation from my location to the bank, which is in a certain distance, so that they don't have to worry about refrigeration.
Yeah.
And to reiterate, with the fenced in area, I kind of know eyes are all on me, especially in this situation. So I was adamant with Brian that it really had to be done properly. So fenced in, security, additional insurances, and especially the cups to show that it's West Hampton Beach Brewery. So if they leave, they can't leave with it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, just want to make sure you get all that stuff, and to get it all in line, because it does make a difference, because especially need a liquor authority issue at it.
100%. Like I said, I really have a lot to lose, especially with the store being, opening as soon as I can. the last thing I want to do is jeopardize that. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a smart way to do things.
Sounds like you have it all covered, Justin.
Thank you.
I appreciate. Thank you very much.
yeah, we'll
Just
see you
remember-
Saturday.
Just remember,
All
Justin,
right,
you gotta do these things, you gotta do these things a little bit earlier, though.
Yeah.
I do. I apologize. I do apologize. I got the document last Thursday, and I headed to Pennsylvania that Friday, so I do apologize.
Ah.
I
Were you
was skiing. I can't lie.
Oh,
I don't get away
okay.
much. But you guys
Well,
are
you
right.
pulled it
I
together.
understand. Well, I appreciate
All right.
it.
Okay.
All right, guys. If there's anything else you need, otherwise, I appreciate it.
Okay, we're gonna do the resolution now.
Great.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes Justin Chop Shop to use the property located at 71 Sunset Avenue on Saturday, March 12th, 2022, from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. to set up a tent, tables, and chairs, and have music, food, and drinks, with no cooking under the tent, and the alcoholic drinks limited to the property and fenced-in area.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorize the purchase from a van, Portel Ford, of a new Police Department 2022 Ford Utility all-wheel drive vehicle from New York State contract at a cost not to exceed $39,454.31, and a new radio equipment from Motorola Solutions from NYS contract at a cost not to exceed $5,792.38, and other equipment to complete the installation and outfitting of the vehicle from Island Tech Services not to exceed $14,407.
Wait, there's a little more, Rob.
Keep going, a little more.
Sorry. Now for be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approve this purchase to be taken from GL account Apple 3120.2 Police Department Equipment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the purchase from Fluid Imagery for various computer and server updates for the village clerks and building department offices at a cost not to exceed $45,000 to be taken from GL account A1680.2 Central Data Processing Equipment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the purchase of ammunition from Atlantic Tactical Incorporated for the Police Department at a cost not to exceed $2,187 to be taken from GL account A3120.415 training.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Whereas the Clotter Restaurant, 141 Montauk Highway, West Hampton Beach, Suffolk County Tax Map number 0905-5-2-6.2, has applied to renew the entertainment permit pursuant to Chapter 80 of the Code of the Village of West Hampton Beach for 2022, to allow the restaurant to offer limited entertainment accessory to the restaurant use. And whereas it appears from the application and proposed entertainment plan that the application satisfies the conditions set forth in section 80-2A of the Village Code. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the application for the entertainment permit is granted subject to the following conditions. All conditions set forth in section 80-2A shall be followed. One, no substantial deviation from the proposed entertainment plan shall be allowed without further approval of the Board of Trustees. And two, this permit shall be in effect to December 31st, 2022, unless previously revoked, and the applicant shall be required to follow the renewal provisions set forth in section 80-2B of the Village Code for future entertainment beyond such expiration date.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's it.
Mayor, we have the local laws to
Oh,
read
yeah.
as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just when you thought you were done, guys.
I'm done.
I gotta read this one. Whereas a public hearing was held before the Village of Trustees at the municipal building, 165 Mill Road, West Hampton Beach, New York, on the third day of March 2022, to amend Chapter 197 entitled Zoning of the Code of the Village of West Hampton Beach. And whereas the Suffolk County Planning Commission VIA correspondence date January 25th, 2022, determined the proposed amendment to be a matter of local determination. And whereas the building and zoning departments have found the proposed amendment to be type 2 action under 6 New York Charlie Robert 617.5 Charlie 33 Sequa without the need for further environmental review. Now for be it resolved that after due deliberation of the Board of Trustees of the Village of West Hampton Beach hereby adopt a local law as advised, and be it further resolved that the village clerk is hereby directed to enter said law in the records of the village and to give due notice of the adoption and said local law to the Secretary of State.
I would like to propose a slight amendment. I think in the last two statements, it should read that the local law, this is local law number 2. In
Okay.
both of the last two statements,
Mhm.
Liz, because it's
Okay.
not, otherwise it's not in the body of the resolution.
Okay, I'll add that.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
It's gonna be the same case for the next one too, so.
yes.
Hey, Liz, could you put it up on the screen or?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Brian.
No, don't apologize. I'm just not a paper person.
Just say number 3 when you read it, all right?
Oops, wait, there it is,
Please.
at the bottom, yep.
All right. Whereas the public hearing was held before the village trustees at the municipal building, 165 Mill Road, West Hampton Beach, New York, on the third day of March 2022, to amend Chapter 70 entitled Building Construction and Fire Prevention of the Code of Village of West Hampton Beach. And whereas Suffolk County Planning Commission via correspondence dated January 25th, 2022, determined the proposed amendment to be a matter of local determination. And whereas the Building and Zoning Department has found the proposed amendment to be a type 2 action under 6 NYCRR 617.5C21 Seeker without the need for further environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that after due deliberation, the Board of Trustees of the Village of West Hampton Beach hereby adopts the local law as advertised, and be it further resolved, the village clerk is hereby directed to enter said local law into the records of the village and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of State.
And once again, local law
Yep.
number 3. and
Number
those two
3,
spots.
yep.
Yep.
Got that,
Yes.
Brad?
Got it.
And I'll
Well,
second.
I included all the text in when I send it to you. You just like to cut it off.
No, you've got to put the local law number in there.
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so does any of the attendees, now that we're in the public comment portion, have any comments? If you do want to address the board, please raise your hand and Liz will let you in. Okay, I don't see any hands raised, so
Wait, we got a last minute. Okay. Okay.
hi, Elise. Okay, Elise, you're in with us. What would you like to say?
Hello.
Hello?
We can't hear you, Elise.
All right, well,
She's not muted, but
No, she's not muted.
let's see.
anything,
Good night.
Rob. Elise, we can't hear you. Well, you can always call my office tomorrow and you can let me know what your concern is, all right? Okay, so, now we have an executive session to talk about a contract negotiation. So I need a motion to go into executive session and then close.
So moved.
So, second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
So we just need Steve Angel to stay with the board members. Everybody else, have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.
Wait, Mayor, wait a sec, let me stop.